Hello dear listener, TW here with a brand new show. Quick little bit of housekeeping first. A quick shout out to Sean, our resident higher tier supporter on Patreon. Thank you very much for your support. Indeed, anybody who's listening along, supporting on Patreon or indeed anywhere else, remembering that Patreon you can join up for free. There are free memberships. Now, what is this show about? In essence, it is not the podcast, and you'll notice from the length it is mercifully much shorter. It's just me, there's no guests, and I've set myself the lofty, ambitious task of talking about approximately 100 years of cinema. Trying to summarize 100 years of cinema is kind of ridiculous, so what I've tried to do is do it one flick at a time. Every year, one film. What film summarizes that year best? Even then, that's still pretty ridiculous, so I've decided to go for the genre that I love the most. Nearest and dearest to my heart, horror. One horror film per year, 400 years. It won't take me that long to finish the show, I hope. Right, on with the show. So, some context. Let's go back to a time when war was prevalent and ever on the horizon, where mass pandemic, whilst not at its peak, was still with us. A time where fascism was rife. The year was 1920. This was nearly a Fritz Lang picture. The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, a kind of film that, if you're into films, film history, horror, you've probably heard of it, maybe not seen it. It's a little bit cliched, it's one of the most obvious, but if you're going to talk horror, you really have to start with this, the primordial soup. Now, Fritz Lang was potentially going to do this as if he didn't have enough to tag his legendary name to. Dr. Caligari, for short, directed by Robert Wiene, was unleashed to the world in 1920 and quickly, for the time, became one of the most influential films in history. Some boring historical context out of the way first. Remembering that this was made by a people recently defeated in the biggest and bloodiest war in theirs or anyone's history, and that any adult involved would have been directly impacted by it, is a mere starting point. A time for reflection by such a society who had no doubt complex feelings about authority and the brutality of war. Yes, we are talking about post-World War I Germany. The idea that so many horror films came out of Germany at this time is perhaps not surprising. The film is ostensibly about a man, Dr. Caligari, who takes on a monster reminiscent of Frankenstein's monster to do his dirty work. This work includes murder and kidnapping. Who would you kidnap? A woman, of course. Few women in horror films of this era are anything more than objects, and so it is here, when Jane, played by legend Lil Dagover, is taken and ultimately rescued as a prize. It is worth noting that while this film predates the Universal Frankenstein films, by more than a decade in fact, there had been, by 1920, various adaptations of Mary Shelley's 19th century novel. Apart from the partially lost Edison Studios version from 1910, there was one completely lost version called Life Without Soul in 1915, which concludes with a "it was just a dream" twist ending. More on that in a moment. The stark sets of Dr. Caligari are probably the most iconic element of this feature. Jagged, surreal, only begin to describe them. If you've ever seen a tilted set, including modern filmmakers such as the works of Tim Burton, then this is probably their inspiration. To say the set design was inspirational would be a grave understatement. Dance and dream-like movement from some of the actors create a purposeful and powerful connection between both player and set. Indeed, the whole thing feels like a dream and appears to be within the plot. What we presume to be a tale soon to inspire almost every horror director alive is in fact the ramblings of a madman, revealed through a framing device not dissimilar to the classic The Wizard of Oz nearly 2 decades later. Instead of someone saying, "You were there, and you were there," it is, this time, left up to the audience to do so. This twist ending, as noted above, was not entirely original even at the time, but added an extra layer of complexity to an already dense work. When watching this film, an important question appears. Where does it stand relative to others? Is it really a classic and worthy of the praise? When films such as this flew onto the screens, there was so little to compare to. With the curse of time, we can now see that many breakthroughs in 1920s cinema now appear mundane. Oh, you were the first to stop using the fixed camera. Whoop-de-doo. There is a fine line between admiration and indifference in watching seminal works. However, when there is no template to work from, it's both liberating, i.e. there are no rules, and also intimidating. Where are the parameters? Therefore, creation of something without comparison is likely a work of genius. Such is the state of Dr. Caligari. It goes so far beyond the form that it is positively stratospheric in its creation. Beyond the sets, the use of inventive scene transitions, fades, and zooms was a sight to behold, and one that Hollywood took more than a few years to catch up to. Links to Dracula, who was also a known character at the time, were also present when we get a lore dump towards the end of the film. The idea of stopping the film for what is hopefully a brief time to fill in the audience's ignorance of what on earth they have been devouring up to that point became a trope that has never died. Think of Ash in Ridley Scott's Alien, or finding the camera of the serial killer in Wolf Creek, among the uncountable others. The now cliched "it was a dream" ending was perfectly placed even if the filmmakers were not so enthused. Not only does it explain the bizarre aesthetic, but it also, like Puck from Shakespeare's Midsummer Night's Dream, bookends the piece in such a way as to deflect some criticism from shocked audience members. In other words, don't take it too seriously. After all, the portrayal of murder by a monster in such striking imagery would have tested contemporary audiences' resolve. For fans of horror, while this is not the first of this honourable genre, there is likely no better starting point. Enjoy.